Hello, I'm Felicia Vereen, always known as Fee.
Hey, Fee, and I'm your girl, Sharita 3, better known as Red.
And we are Inspire Her, the Total Woman Podcast, a new podcast all about uplifting you.
Yes.
Because friends, face it, you are awesome.
We'll be chatting up about topics we love to talk about. All the things we as women must juggle every day and the issues we complain about.
But who's listening?
Girl,
We'll
nobody.
chat about the struggle, the job, and about him. You know who we're talking about.
Girl.
That boo, husband, boyfriend, ex, whatever you calling them today. Our lovely hellions, kids.
Oh, angels. But seriously, friends, life happens, and we don't always get a chance to talk about it. We take it on the chin and we keep it moving.
Because that's what we were told to do.
Yep.
But here on Inspire Her, the Total Woman Podcast with Red and Fee, we are the friends you love to hang out with. We are here to inspire her, the Total Woman.
Yes.
Hey, Red.
Hey, Fee, how are you?
I'm good. I am good. This is an awesome weekend. We are recording our podcast today in Savannah, Georgia. Red is here with me, guys.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about that. Our first episode we get to record together.
Yes, I was excited about that. I was going to say the same thing. We're actually in the same state.
Yep. We have a very special guest today. Our title is Life After Loss, and our guest, Sika Smith. Welcome, Sika.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a mom. I am a photographer and an artist in many different ways, but professionally I'm a property manager. And so that's what I do with most of my time. Manage adults and manage my children.
Okay.
Sounds like you got your plate full. So Sika, we wanted to invite you in because you've had and experienced a tremendous amount of loss. So I kind of want you to walk us through your journey and talk to us about some of the things that you've experienced in the last couple of years.
So like most people, we all have lost, but there's been a much deeper focus, I guess, on loss in the last 9 months. In 2021, on June 26th, I lost my little brother. He was 32 years old, and he was saving the life of a child and drowned in the process. 60 days later, I lost my husband at the age of 39. But 3 days before that, we lost his brother. And just this past January, I lost my mother-in-law. So it's been a lot of loss.
Wow. How are your kids doing?
It's really affected his schoolwork, and his teachers have been really compassionate. But we worry about how the school year will end. With the older one, there's been a couple of things, but he doesn't show it as much. So we just kind of try to check in with him and check in with each other. It's just depends on the day.
Pretty much all you can do, right? Have you guys sought out any professional services? And if so, has it been helpful in your healing process?
Myself and the youngest one has. I've encouraged my oldest son too, but I'm trying to allow him to be an adult, and make his own decisions. He is on his own. But yeah, my youngest son and I, we've done group therapy. Maybe we were 2 or 3 months in and we started doing group therapy every other week. And just this past Tuesday, I started doing one-on-one because I kind of had a moment in group therapy. So I thought it was important for me to, talk to someone on my own. So lots of great ideas that were shared there. And I do think it's helpful.
Cool. When we came here, our girlfriend group came here a couple of years ago, and you were a photographer and you photographed us in some amazing pictures. Have you been able to get that passion back to do the photography, or where are you with that?
I actually stuttered a little bit with the introduction to introduce myself as a photographer because I'm not as passionate about it anymore. The last time that I shot before I lost my husband, we did a wedding for a friend of mine. I've turned down so much work because he was my assistant. He called himself Sika's little helper. I've tried to shoot since losing him. I've done 2 shoots. One was just me trying to be artistic, something that I had wanted to do. I wanted a specific model. I was able to find that, and those pictures came out really dark, but they expressed what I wanted them to express. And I shot for a family. They've been a part of my family for years. I've shot them maybe like 4 times,
Mm-hmm.
and it just felt wrong to tell them no. That was hard, that was hard to, I have this way, of interacting with my clients, and I couldn't interact the same, but they had a new baby and I shot them when they were pregnant. And so I wanted to, but I haven't since then. It's just really hard to, makes me think about Ryan.
I could definitely speak to that, because when you took my pictures, y'all were together with the chair,
Mm-hmm.
and he knew, where to put the chair, how to help you, and you kind of y'all kind of like gelled, and it was and your son was there too, and it was just nice seeing y'all together.
It became
doing it together.
Our thing, our business, and we had a lot of plans with 3 Olive Green, where I felt like he finally understood what my passion was, and I was learning more about his passion. I remember at that wedding, I changed the setting on my camera because the lighting was different. And he said, "See what you just did right there? That's the same as me changing balls when the oil on the lane changes," because he bowled.
Okay.
So just because it became our thing, it's kind of hard for me to break away from that and it just be my thing again.
Mm-hmm. So for me, and this has happened to me when I'm filling the space, has he come to you in your dreams?
No. At first that was hard. Like I said, I'm almost 8 months in. I'm okay with that now because I feel like he does communicate with me in different ways.
Mm-hmm. How so? I love these stories. How?
So, well, even just today I woke up early to take my son to bowling league. Mm-hmm. Both my boys bowl now. They want to be just like that. My oldest son has my husband's boat now that he's gone. And so yesterday he says to Trey, "Did Mom find the key to the motor yet?" And I said, "No, I haven't even looked. It's been hard for me to go through his things." But I said I would look this morning. Woke up super early, could have done a million things, but I spent 2 hours looking for that key and I could not find it. So now I'm running late. And I just stopped. I said, "You know what, Ryan, you know where the key is. You know where it is. I'm not even going to look anymore. You're just going to bring it to me." When we got in the car, there was a series of things that happened. Like if I didn't put that there, then this wouldn't have went on top. And then there was this one thing that was on top that was out of order. And so I said, "Trey, put this in the glove box." He says, "Which glove box?" Ryan has 2 there. And I said, "Whichever one it will fit in." He opens the glove box and the key is right there.
Wow.
So this was within
That's
30
cool.
minutes of me saying, "Ryan, just show me where the key is." But there's a song, that Trey and I recognize as Daddy's song. Mm-hmm. And right after my brother passed away, Ryan's brother was already sick. And so we took a trip to St. Louis because, we wanted to see his brother just in case. And while we were there, it was this one song that just played over and over and over again on the radio, sometimes back to back. We try to avoid it. We would change the station. It'd be playing on there. And so it was clearly like, I thought my brother was trying to send us a message, And so Trey and I was like, well, let's learn the words to the song. We get back to Savannah like 3 days later and we're still hearing the song. I thought that it was my brother trying to communicate with his wife and maybe I was supposed to give her a message. But anyway, after Ryan passed away, I'd say maybe a week into it, I was just sitting and the song was just playing in my head, the lyrics to the song. And I realized that the song was for me. And I still feel like my brother sent it to me, but it was so it could have a connection between me, Ryan, and Trey. Like since the 3 of us would hear it all together. And now when we have questions or we've made a decision or I'm wondering like, what would Ryan say about this? Or, would he agree with this? Then that song will come on. And to me, it's like a confirmation. Mm-hmm. Or when Trey and I are fussing, a song will come on and I feel like it's Ryan saying, all right, y'all need to chill out. So just little ways. We have a series of numbers that we see also that we think, is our angel numbers where he talks to us. But it comes at the right moments when we're questioning, like we say, WWDD, what would daddy do? So when we're wondering what would daddy do, we'll get a sign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sun just started shining too. I don't know.
I saw you look
over.
over.
I'm like, oh, the sun is shining.
Yes, I'm talking about him.
Yeah. So, who has been your support system? I hope you're not one of those people that, oh, I don't want to bother anybody with what I'm going through. I'm too much to people. People don't want to keep on hearing about this. Are you reaching out for support?
Depends on the day.
See?
There's a lot of people that are there in the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And in the very beginning, you just kind of want to be quiet.
Yeah.
So they don't know what to do. My dad always says people mean well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know how to be there for you, and that's okay. Like a text message is fine. But my mom stayed with me for the first 4 months, and that was definitely necessary. It was weird at times because I'm used to just being on my own,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm kind of like, you're in my way. But I appreciate it all because there were some days where I don't think my son would have really ate. I wouldn't have eaten if she wasn't there, like making a meal, or helping to wash clothes. But after Christmas, I felt like it was important that I figure out how to do it on my own. She can't be there forever. So she left. Trey and I have been in the house just supporting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad is definitely there. It's hard sometimes because he lost a son and then he lost a son-in-law.
Mm.
So, I don't want to always lean on him because I'm trying, I try to be cautious of everybody else's grief also. But the young lady whose wedding that we shot, she actually works for me. That's been helpful. She can kind of tell. She'll close my door and say, the manager's unavailable right now.
Right.
So that's been helpful. Not so much anymore that do I need that, because I've learned how to what some of my triggers are. And so I know if I'm starting to feel this way, maybe I need to stand outside real quick and get some air. And so I'm not crying at work. In the beginning it was pretty tough. So there are a few people that will help if I call on them. It's just hard. You don't want to reach out to someone and burden them. And then when you finally feel comfortable with reaching out to them, you think, well, if they don't receive it the way that that I need them to receive it, then that makes you feel even worse. So sometimes you just want to keep it to yourself. Mm-hmm. But I will say it's important to talk to someone,
Absolutely.
It's important to get it out because holding it in, it's a lot of pressure. And I mean, like, physical pressure, like you can feel it in your chest. Sometimes you just gotta scream, like you figure out ways to handle it.
Okay.
One of the reasons why I contacted you was because I saw you on Facebook. And I said, you know what? She better not stop this because she's doing a good thing. I mean, it stopped me because of your expression. You know how sometimes when you're recording something, it stops at a certain point. I was like, oh, what's going on? I listened to it. I understood your grief. I appreciate it. But the message was like awesome. Like telling people, don't stop talking. You got to talk about it. Mm. That was one of the reasons why I suggested that we do this podcast. Life after loss. How do you get from one moment to the next? And now it's 8 months later. How did I get here? Mm-hmm. And that's valuable. You are helping a lot of people just by talking about it. So no, don't ever feel the need to stop talking. Don't feel the need to think that people don't want to listen. People don't want to hear it. Because there are people that are silently going through it. Absolutely. And you don't even know it.
I want you to take us back to your love story. What's special about Ryan? You just smiling and laughing.
So I've been doing property management for a while. Mm-hmm. But I started off as a leasing agent. And okay, this is a long story. I'm going to try to make it short. Okay? Ryan was a resident. But so he came in. I must have run to the restroom because as I was coming back out, I saw my associate like taking this big ball out on a tour. And I'm like, dang, how did I miss this guy? I could tell he was in a Gulfstream uniform.
That blue uniform.
So I was like, well, I know he's making decent money. I was supposed to be going to lunch, but when they came back in, I just kind of sat around just being nosy. And
we know you wanted to see. She's like, I'm going to check him out.
But I eventually left. She did lease the apartment to him. And I think it was supposed to be like 2 weeks before his apartment was ready. Well, he kept coming into the office like when he got off of work and asking could he use the computer lab because she had told him that he could use the amenities, since he had already leased. And one day she was like, you don't have to stop by every time. Like, just go straight back there. You know where it is. And then she said, I think that guy likes you. Like, he's not coming to use the computer. He's coming to see you.
Wow.
Well,
was he cute?
Yes, definitely. He's at that time, I didn't recognize that. I'm just like, whatever. I missed out on the lease, whatever.
Right.
But she was conveniently busy when it's time to do his walkthrough. So I did his move-in inspection with him.
Mm-hmm.
That was that was interesting. I do my whole, okay, if you need anything, just let me know. Okay, bye. Just like the kind thing. But he lingered at the door. He's like, wait a minute, I overheard you guys talking. You said you know how to cook. And I was just doing all these side items. He was like, well, I can grill. I was like, yeah, sure. Maybe one day we can just cook something together. But he took that seriously and kept coming to the office. And one day I just decided, sure, I'll go to lunch with you. And we went to Seasons of Japan right there in Baruch Plantation. And just sitting across the table from him, I just noticed his eyes. And I thought his eyes were so beautiful. and that was in love. Yeah, that was it. He was a different type of person, like a different kind of man. Mm-hmm. And I don't even think that I have the words to express how special he was, how blessed I was to have him. And that has been helpful in grief. Like, not that I necessarily lost him, but that, I was his wife, I was blessed to have him for 10 years. So I try to focus on that period and know that, my story has not concluded. Just, the chapter of Ryan, has concluded. And then realizing that, he was supposed to be in my life for 10 years. And I have those 10 years. But yeah, he's magical. I refer to him as my knight in shining armor.
He was always smiling.
Always. And I did not realize, like, I'm from Savannah, and so I know quite a few people. Even if I don't remember their name, I know I'm from someplace. Ryan's not from here, and I did not realize how popular he was until he passed,
Wow.
Just with everyone who reached out, everyone who was, concerned, the Cards, the bowling alley family, the Gulfstream family, there was times when, I tried to encourage him to follow a different career path, and just waking up that early in the morning, like, why do you want to stay there? Why do you want to keep going there? You're tired. But when I met all those people, I knew why he kept going to work, like everyone loved him, and same with bowling. He bowled like, I knew bowling was a thing, but like when I met him, he's like, and we moved in with each other, he's like, I bowl on Wednesday nights. I'm like, okay. He's like, no, like every Wednesday.
Like, okay. Don't bother me.
Yeah.
Bowling is a thing.
It's a thing.
Like, I'm a professional.
Yeah, he really was. And, he bowled probably 4 out of the 7 nights a week. And to see all those people who loved him, like, that's why he kept doing it, whether he was in pain or tired, like he just kept going. But he was loved by so many people. Like, those were his arenas, like those are the places where he was like king, so.
And he chose you.
Yeah. I don't know how I captured the man, that's just one thing that I really just have to hold on to in this, is just knowing that what we had was very special. So it's helpful, and then it hurts at the same time, because they tell you,
sweet.
Right. Like, a lot of people say, well, just focus on all the positive moments. And you do, I have lots of pictures of him around, and my brother too, and then you think about the good moments, and you can laugh and you can smile. And then it brings you to a place where you're like, well, I'm not going to have that again. Mm-hmm. And so you feel bad. It's a constant up and down roller coaster, right. So it's really important to find the moments, that keep you upbeat, that keep you happy. I try to stay busy, I'm trying to craft, I'm trying to organize, like I just started organizing his side of the garage, because just touching his things can be emotional.
Mhm.
And we will part with some of them eventually, but not right now.
When you're ready, you
Yeah.
do everything when you're ready. It's no timeline to grieve.
Yeah.
You grieve. It's no way. It's no right way. It's no right amount of time, and you never get over it. You just learn how to better deal with it.
I saw it. I read something that said it never gets easier. You just get stronger.
And that was my next question. I was going to ask you, what have you learned about yourself in this last 8 months?
a lot, a lot, a lot. But I think I've more so learned like patience, I guess like tolerance, and like some things just don't matter. Like there are so many people who, like even when you're driving, like it's just not that serious. You just cut me off, okay, you got to get there
Have
faster.
that.
Yeah, have it. Yeah, and what I do for a living, in managing adults, I have a job that has the potential to upset some people sometimes. Let them have their moment. Like the only thing I have to go by is the legal documents that we both agreed to, and that's what I'm going to stick by. My personal opinion does not matter in any of that. Like before Ryan left, I liked having control over certain things, And while I still like to be organized and I still like to have some level of control, I realize that we really don't have any control over anything. So, like, why am I going to stress myself out over that? Like, is this going to affect my happiness, my well-being, my family? Like, it just doesn't matter. So you just kind of learn how to put things into perspective. And the things that really matter, you want to bring those things a little bit closer, and then the things that don't, just let them go. Stuff, people. I've lost some people that are still living. I've lost some people. Some I've made the decision to put them out. Some they kind of just put themselves out. And that's okay. That's quite all right with me, because at the end of the day, my happiness needs to be the most important to me, or I can't be anything to anybody else. And I feel like everybody should feel that way about themselves also.
I like that.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
What has kept you going in those most painful moments? Like I always tell my clients, allow yourself time to grieve. Take this day, just feel it, just cry, just feel it, just go through it.
I don't know. It's hard to get out of the bed sometimes, but I don't have a choice. Like, I went from a 2-income household to a 1-income household. We're still in the same place, and so you still have to do what you have to do. But what keeps you going is knowing that like this feeling sucks. I don't want to feel this way, even though you don't have control over a lot of things. You kind of do have control over how you feel. You can convince yourself that everything is okay for a little while. It will creep back up on you. That's where the roller coaster comes in. I don't know, just I talk. I talk it out, and like Felicia was saying, the Facebook post. So I do a lot of TikToks now, and it started on Facebook the day before Ryan passed, where I realized I didn't have any control over what was going to happen to him, but the least I can do is ask some people to pray for him. And so I was just gonna just ask, hey, can you pray for Ryan Smith? And it turned into this big thing.
A movement.
Yeah, I got really emotional, and I think that's when I realized that it was a possibility that I could lose him, and that I just really, like, it's not something that I could do. Like, it's nothing I can do about it, But I still felt like he would be okay. But it got shared and shared and shared and shared and shared.
And shared. And it was a hashtag, because I shared it.
Yeah.
With I sent it to my friends, and I said, remember the photographer. Please pray for her and her family, pray for her husband.
Well, when he passed, my parents were like, I wanted to put it out there immediately, and my parents just told me to just take the moment to just like soak it in and calm down. And anyway, I felt like I needed to share it with everyone, since everyone had invested in praying for him, And so now everyone who even didn't know him, like, cared for him, and that, they needed to know, like, how his story went. And so, I shared that. And then I guess I was upset because I saw a billboard. The billboard said something along the lines of losing patience as far as like tolerance. They said we're gaining patience as in sick people, but we're losing patience as in tolerance. And that really struck a nerve with me, because I thought, how could someone who's supposed to care for people lose patience, lose tolerance? Because if you don't have that, then you're not caring at your highest degree. And I thought, if the person who felt this way was caring for my husband, then maybe they didn't care for him as deeply as they could, and maybe that's why I lost him. And so I spoke on that, and I thought, my audience is not big enough. Like, no one cares, no one's going to hear this. But it made me feel better to say something. So my aunt suggested, she was like, why don't you get a TikTok, or you talk on YouTube? And so I got the TikTok because it allowed me to share, but also be separate, if that makes sense. Like, Facebook is like your family and friends and people who know you, who maybe already have like an idea of who you are and how you should feel. Where TikTok just kind of allowed me to talk to strangers. I don't care what you think about me. This is how I feel right now. So I was able to put more out there, and and not care about the judgment. And I've gotten more reaction out of, or from people that I don't know. There are some people who've said, hey, I've lost my husband too. And, hey, I've gotten encouragement from them. I've gotten thank you from them, so it's been a good place for me to, I guess, just like release.
A Facebook support group is awesome. It allows you to know that you're not alone. You don't have to be present and in person. You just write your little note, or you can read, which is awesome. But we talked a little bit about your husband. Tell us about your heroic brother.
So,
was he younger, older than you?
My brother was younger than me. He was 32 when he passed, and he was associated with so many different organizations. He's great with his hands, an artist and a carpenter. He was a husband as well. His wife just turned 33 a few days before he passed away. I think the way he lost his life is just an example of the type of person that he was, with no regard for his own safety. And I do have to add it. I mean, he was a great swimmer, and so I'm sure he had no question about running into that lake. It's just the type of lake that it was. It had a very soft bottom, and it just, it just pulled him in. But we all kind of agreed that he would not have changed his mind. He would have run in there, because that's the type of person that he was,
Right.
to always help somebody else.
Right. So Red was talking to you about, what you've gone through and how COVID took a lot of people. We all know that. For someone who is going through the same thing that you went through, but wasn't as vociferous as you are, what can you tell that person? Or maybe somebody that's going through it now, with you being 8 months in. What can you tell that person about how you got from 8 months ago to now?
The honest answer is I don't know, because so I'm a part of a lot of grief groups on Facebook.
Right.
One specifically for people who've lost their husband, one that's just broad grief. I lost my mom, my son, my cousin. I remember being a month in, and what that felt like. And there are moments when, like, it feels just as raw, but there are many more moments where I feel like Sika, or a new version of Sika, and I realize that I can survive without these people that I lost. I will read messages that say, I just lost my husband last week, and I don't know what to say, because I know at that moment when I was a weekend, it wasn't anything you could say to me that was going to make me feel better. And it's so much I want to say to that person, but I'm like, she's going to react the same way I did. I did respond to one message, and a lot of times I just read them, and it helps to remind me of how far I've come.
Mm-hmm.
But I did respond to this one message, and I think the girl's name was Sherry, because she was angry, like she was just mad that her husband was taken away from her. And I just wrote her back and said, I remember that feeling, but like it's going to get better. And I hate saying that, because the only thing I want is for Ryan to just miraculously appear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something else that you kind of have to get over. And I know, like, if this has just happened to you, like you're watching the door just like I was, just sitting on the couch, waiting for him to come through the garage, like maybe they got the wrong person, or maybe he's in witness protection, something,
Anything.
like, but so I don't know if better is the right word to use, but it's gonna get different. It's not gonna hurt as bad. It's gonna heal some. Like, you just have to remember who you are, and that's hard for a lot of people, And I can look in some of these groups where you've been with your spouse for 30 years and 40 years, I can just imagine like what that's like. Sometimes I think, oh, I don't have anything to complain about. Like, I was only with Ryan for 10 years. They lost their spouse for 40 years. But then I bring myself back and I'm like, but I don't know what their marriage was like, Like, regardless of how long, when you attach yourself to that person, like, it does feel like a part of you has been ripped away. And I read that a lot. I feel like I just lost, my soul. A lot of these women don't want to be here anymore, but just remind yourself, like, it's just a chapter. Like, I'm here for a reason. They're still here for a reason. And my dad is always saying positives and negatives go hand in hand. And so while you don't want to pull anything positive out of losing someone, I just have to think that I'm being built for something more, and so maybe it's TikTok now, and I don't know. It's your podcast, me sharing that may touch someone else who's dealing with that, and then maybe it's me speaking, like motivationally. I don't know, but I know that all of this back to back to back, is because it's supposed to be conditioning me for something greater. And I would say that to them, ask yourself, why are you still here? There's a reason why you're still here, or you'd be gone too. Like, just revisit and try and find who you are. You do things in the meantime, find a craft. My brother suggested I find a hobby. So you are finding things to fill in the blanks, but you need to like really tap into who you are and who you were before that person. Do you still like some of those things? Can you explore some of those things? Have a conversation with yourself. It's okay to talk to yourself. Talk to them. I talk to Ryan all the time, and just all that stuff gives you comfort, but just realize there's a reason why you're still here. And that'll start to give you encouragement. Like, 8 months in is not a long time. And I know, like, I have a really, really long journey. I think that's the hardest part. Like, cause you ask, like, it's 24 hours in a day, like you're going to wake up and you're going to go to work and somebody's getting on your nerves, but you're going to get off at 5 and you get to take that nice hot bath and you get to go to sleep. So when it's going to end. Like, you just don't know when this is going to end, right, when the feeling's going to end. And I think that's the most part, the part that tortures you the most. But you just have to know that it's going to feel different. You're going to feel better. And when you find your reason why you're still here, like, I don't know, it's just different.
And I'm sitting over here, what a strong woman. Do you feel like you're strong? Would you consider yourself strong?
Sometimes I feel strong. I feel best when I'm helping somebody else. And I think the obvious part of that is just that because I'm not focusing on myself, I feel strong sometimes, but I don't know. I can be riding down the road and I just cry, but I guess you have to expect that. And that's what I would say to anybody else. Like, don't think, oh, I've gotten so much better. I'm at this point. Oh, no, I cried. I must have relapsed. I must have fallen back. No, it's a part of the journey.
Absolutely.
Like, you're going to cry. You're not going to cry as much, as time goes on. But when it happens, when it shocks you, like, figure out what it was around you that made that happen.
Right.
Like, so that's where finding your triggers and knowing how to deal with those things made a difference to me. So,
which one of your sons is more like him? Has his personality?
I think they're in competition with each other and they don't even know it. So,
everybody want to be like Dad.
Yeah, no, he was definitely the most popular person in the house. Like, when he would pull up, we could hear the truck. I drive his truck now because I just feel his essence, in the truck. Like, from all his road trips to him falling asleep on his lunch break in the truck. But the oldest one, definitely, he's a great bowler. He is, but my understanding is Ryan used to have the bowling balls on one hip and the baby on the other hip. So RJ's been in the bowling alley since he's been a baby, and so he definitely picked that up. He loves fishing, so like he has his dad's boat now. It was hard for me to let it leave my house, but I think that was a powerful thing for me to do also, is to release it and let it go. I wasn't going to do anything with it, and RJ can enjoy it the way that his dad did. He took it out today, actually. Cool. He loves to fish, and he's picked up his dad's like mechanical skills. Trey, just that was his best friend, and he'll say that to me sometimes. Mommy, I lost my best friend, and I don't know how to be that person to him. So
you
that's
don't have to be.
That's when we do the WWDD. What would Daddy do? But so that's why he's in the bowling now. Also, just they both just want to be. I think it's gonna be a competition. Forever with the two of them on who can be most like that.
That's just cool.
Well, as a professional, cool. I definitely hear that you're on the right path to healing. You're gonna go through some bumps, but what you're saying is everything that someone would want to hear that you are progressing through this and you're in that healing process now. Knowing that I'm gonna have my moments and days and times and it's completely okay. But I just feel really good about, just hearing your story and the direction that you're going in.
And know that you are helping. Somebody's listening that needs to hear what you have to say. We think people aren't listening to us. Our group out there, we call them friends from Inspire Her, Total Woman. You guys, I'm talking to Sika Smith, and we're talking about life after loss. And I just want her to know that people are out there listening. This podcast is going to help somebody. You are going to help somebody. People remember what you went through. I mean, Ryan, of course, probably was the biggest piece of it, but you had 4 people and you are surviving. You are helping other people. And you may not think that you're teaching anybody anything, but people watch. You'd be surprised at how many people know what you're saying out there. You have clueless that I was watching. You didn't know that. So a lot of times we want to minimize our loss or our pain, but you can't do that. And we're at the point right now where we want to ask you a question.
Okay.
What would you say? And you can take a minute and think about it. But what would you say to Ryan right now? He right here. We know.
Yeah,
we know that
here.
He's right
he's
here.
He's present and in the moment.
It's so much. It's so much that I would want to say. And I've thought about that before. You want someone to come back so badly, and if they walk through the door, like, then what? Do you behave differently than you did before? Are you now like extra clingy because you remember that they went away and you don't want them to go away anymore? Like, what would be different? I've thought about that, and I don't know. Yeah. if I only had a few seconds, I would just tell him, that I miss him. I would just tell him that I love him. When my youngest son will tell you this, when I walk into the house every day, when Ryan was here, the first thing I would say was, "Where's my husband?" And when I would find him, I make sure he knew, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And then Trey would get attention. But if I just had a few seconds with him, I don't even know if I would say anything. I just would want to hold him. I would just want to hug him. I miss holding his hand. His hands were so big, and our fingers would be weird many times. So we would hold pinkies. I miss that. Like, he was so tall, and I could just lay my head on his chest. I didn't have to feel weird about being tall. I know a lot of tall girls feel that way because most guys are short. Tall ones play basketball. They can't get with. But I just would want to hold him. And if I could just speak for a little second, I would just tell him that I love him. I love him, and and thank you. Like, because there's so much that Ryan prepared me for. I didn't even know that I was in class
in training.
Yeah, I didn't know that he was training me to be where I am now. But I mean, from using my hands, from using the drill, from getting the car work going, questions to ask, people to trust, like even how I look at people, like I would trust so much so immediately, and I just see the world differently. And I feel like when he passed on, and my brother too, like there's pieces of their character that are a part of me now, but especially my husband, being with him in the same house, watching him, hearing him, his habits, the things he read, like I would just have to tell him thank you for preparing me, and building me and strengthening me, without my knowledge, like, because I'm ready to handle this because of what he put into my world.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that's a good man.
Yes.
That's a good man. Yes. That is something to definitely be proud of and feel appreciative of. And God got you, girl. He got you. He got you. And so does Ryan. And so does Ryan. Guys, we're sitting here, and we're sitting by this big screen door, and it was gray outside when Sika came. It was a little gray, and then all of a sudden we're sitting here talking, and Sika's talking, and Red said the sun is coming out, and that sun has gotten very bright while we were talking.
Yeah. Yep, because it's still gray over there, so he's just peeking out right there.
Yep, it is. On one side of the house is gray, and on the other side, the sun is shining. I mean, literally right here on us. So thank you, Ryan. You appreciate what we're doing.
And I know he's so proud of you also. He's so proud of you.
I hope so. I actually did a TikTok the other day when I was cleaning his side of the garage, and I felt like I made a difference there, but it was hard because I would always go to him and say, look what I did, and for him to say, you did a good job. Like, I would always seek that from him, but I'm learning to praise myself,
Right.
So,
that's a good thing. Yes. Ryan, your woman is doing good.
Yeah.
She is doing good, and I'm sure he knows that. He sees it. He's there. You feel him.
I do.
We appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Because for one point, I was like, I don't think she's going to be able to do it. I don't think she's going to be able to do it. Right? She called me. She's going to do it. She's going to do it. So we appreciate that. We know how hard it is. I just want to say thank you.
Well, I appreciate you all for listening and allowing me to
share.
Yeah, it's good. You got through it, and
part of healing.
Yep. And friends out there, we want you to know, and if Sika will allow us, we want a picture of the two of you, one of the ones that you love the most, and we want to share it with our group. We got an intimate group of it's about 260 some women in this group, and we want to be able to share that picture. And
also of your brother, if you have one of you and your brother, because he's definitely a hero.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. His name was Rashaad.
Rashaad.
Yes, Rashaad Walker.
Rashaad Walker. life is, like you said, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
You're gonna look back and say, "Gosh, I'm here.
Yeah.
I made it through, and I'm on a different side."
And I'm okay.
Right.
Mhm.
And you never know. Who knows? A couple years from now, maybe next year, whatever, you might be standing on somebody's stage helping
Yes.
other people through it. You have, in listening to your TikToks and things, you have a way of, a lot of people don't know how to let that emotion out and still be able to handle themselves. And people need to see that I can be emotional. I don't have to hide it. I can be emotional. Hell, take me as I am. If you don't want to hear me, cut
You
me
don't have
off.
to. Yeah.
But somebody wants to hear you, and I was listening.
I appreciate you all.
We both were listening,
Yes.
and as soon as I introduced it to Red, she was like, "Yeah, let's do that. People need to hear that." So we appreciate you coming out here, hanging out with us. And
Yes.
it was
SHERO.
that's right.
Thank you.
It's a
We
lot.
commend you. So, guys, Sika Walker Smith came and hung out with us and shared herself with us. And we are going to put a picture of them out in the group. So if you are not in the group, you want to be in there because you want to see this and you want to hear this. You can join Inspire Her, the Total Woman. It's a group on Facebook, and we will allow you to enter if you request us. You can listen to us on any of your major platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify. We're on a majority of the major platforms, and YouTube. Join us out there and listen and give us your feedback. And if you have been through this, we appreciate your comments. I'm sure Sika would appreciate your comments. We'll share those with her. Red, you have anything else you want to say?
No, I think just again, thank you so much and continue with your progress and your healing.
All right, guys, we are saying goodbye.
Peace out.
We are here to inspire her, the total woman.
Yay.